My name is Odie Hawkins, and that is not me calling myself. My name is Odie Hawkins,
Right.
and that is not me calling myself.
Spammers.
That is Zola Salena ringing a secret bell in the background in order to try to encourage me to speed it up so that when the bell stops ringing, I'll be on page 1 of this particular short story that I'm going to read. Is it time now, dear?
Yes, it is time, my dear.
My name is Odie Hawkins, and the woman who's just ringing the bell behind the camera is Zola Salena-Hawkins, my wife, my friend, my love. And for those who don't understand that, then you've never had a grainy afternoon and a cup full of capoeira.
Ha 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 ha. Well said.
Here's looking at you, Alfred. I'm sorry, wrong cup. As I've mentioned on previous occasions, we had readings from longer works like novels last year, and we decided this year to read shorter things, smaller things. I have friends of mine who know me continue to ask, Odie, where you got all this stuff? So I'm trying to reveal it right now. I have it all right in front of me, and I have it in the, I call them writing crates, right there. And I'm pulling them out as we go along. Hopefully, before I drop dead right in front of you, I will have read a few of these things. On this particular occasion, I'm going to take us back a little bit into history, the history of how I became a member of the Watts Writers Workshop and what was happening during that time frame. I got here in California Watts Writers Workshop right after the uprising, right after the revolt in 1966. Jumped right into the Watts Writers Workshop. Where else was I to go? That was the only place to go. We have to give applause and shout out to Budd Schulberg, who was the guiding, pushing force behind the Watts Writers Workshop. And in this particular instance, on these pages, I want to read a little bit about what it was like to be a member of the Watts Writers Workshop who was suddenly being lionized and appreciated rather than, you know, given the usual treatment. Really interesting time because we never thought of ourselves as literary people. We were just simply people who wanted to express ourselves. And some of us did it very well, some of us didn't do it so well. I'm going to stick with those of us, I think, who did it very well. And the piece is very short. It's called Hey World. I sat there in the middle of a funky hot August day in deepest Chicago, 1965, sucking on the corner of a half a pint of cheap scotch. I'm talking to all working men who want to forget what they had to do all week in order to earn that weekly nut or that monthly nut or whatever it is. So this half a pint of cheap scotch was all I could afford after working 2 weeks worth of 12-hour days in the post office, staring at the chaotic scenes being broadcast from Wat Nam, California. I was mesmerized and in a way exhilarated. The brothers and sisters out west were saying, "You're goddamn right we mad as hell and we ain't gonna take this shit anymore." It was like a very hyper version of a civil rights march. My then wife, a classically gorgeous walnut brown Creole sister from New Orleans, just a step away from Congo Square, strolled past me mumbling, Lord have mercy, when you look at them fools, Look what they doing, burning their own neighborhood down. Up, down, up.
Mm-hmm.
Semantical difficulties occur with most massacres. I didn't bother to respond to her bougie bullshit judgment. I had a ghetto chess game going on in my head. Lord have mercy on my ass. Them motherfuckers is getting ready to get hold of substantial coins. That's what the King Pawn move shot to my brain. Obviously, they were getting ready to get some money because that's what the government did back then. If those black people are mad enough to burn up their own ghetto, then we better hurry up and throw some ducats at the problem, whatever the fuck it is, or else they'll be fine at Beverly Hills and Malibu next time. Damn the commission reports and all that bullshit. We already know what they're going to say. Just fling some bucks down on their rebellious black asses and the problem will go away. Right? Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Strange how shit can be put into motion. Sometimes you can imagine it and it'll be. I prayed for the circumstances to open up, to widen the cracks that would give me the opportunity to make it to the coast. I made a balls. For those of us who know something about the Yoruba tradition of making sacrifices, you'll know exactly what I'm saying when I say a ball. Both in and out. I put in a transfer to the LA post office. They had some kind of weird ass transfer deal at the time that would allow me, or allow you to go to somewhere else if somewhere else somebody wanted to be where you were. Kind of like a postal, post office musical chairs number. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but some funky chap at the Beverly Hills post office was the motherfucker crazy? Mm-hmm. Crazy? Wanted to relocate to Chicago. Never found out who he or she was and didn't give a shit. Part of my plan had fallen into place. We switched it up. 1966. Mm-hmm. Writer Budd Schulberg, on the waterfront, had put his most humane instincts to work and come up behind the Watts Writers Workshop. Kiss a dick, never been anything like it before, and unfortunately nothing like it since. Seems that damn near everybody had discovered they could sing, dance, act, paint, philosophize, poet, write, poetize, be for real. A jet-lagged carpetbagger, well, not really. I delved into the mix the minute the plane docked. In the wake of the revolt, which most of the usual mainstream suspects still want to label a riot, Watts was in an artistic ferment. The Watts Writers Workshop, y'all, right there, next to the railroad tracks, has so many world-class poet writers in it, it was unreal. K. Curtis, I can get it for you wholesale. Lyle. Quincy True, Miles Davis's Cookie Man. Wanda Coleman, Eric Priestley. God is the Son. That's what the brother. James, in the temple of my mind. Thomas Jackson, Harry Dolan, Emery, Joseph. I love. We must love. We must love black people. 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 That was his poem. Mm-hmm. Johnny Scott shit, we took him to Harvard School. Kamal Cliff on the Edge, Daoud. George Wesley, the winking keisters in the shower at Quentin Bourland. Charlene, me bad poet, he knocked me up with his karate chops. Grant. L.V. Whitney, people who only came once or twice. The Watts Prophets, Richard Dado, Anthony Father M.D. Hamilton, D.D. McNeil, and Otis Solomon came out of this jambalaya. Hey, that's what happened. I was there on it. I knew something about it. I'm coming. Y'all still there?
Yes, it's still here.
The competition, which is not really what it was,
Ah.
if you relate to rap slashers and back to bebop bashers, was something fierce. Critique could be switchblade sharp. I suggest you unplug your fucking ears, brother, in order for you to really get a clear understanding of what the poem is saying.
Mm-hmm.
If your shit was not way up, the best way to survive the evening was by being extremely cool, like quiet.
I heard that.
The serious could become so tenderly soulful that we simply wanted to cry, embrace our Africanity and hear it again. Especially the stuff that some of the middle-aged sisters wrote, stuff about what it felt like to wash dishes in your own little ghetto bungalows and look at the sparrows shitting on their window sills.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm caught up by emotions. My then wife, the gorgeous one who didn't give a shit about anything that didn't rhyme with money, thought I had completely blown my cool when I announced that I was going to be a writer. Believe me, the Watts Writers Workshop inspired that kind of craziness. That's cool with me, Mr. Man, you being a writer and all, but how are we going to feed the kids, pay our bills, deal with these white folks? I didn't have an answer for these perfectly legitimate questions, and I didn't look too hard for one. I was going to be a writer. Fuck everything else. Shit, kiss my motherfucking ass. That was the way I felt about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't just bullshit neither. I thought I was doing something tough, but it was almost punkish in comparison to the poets who had been declared the Watts Prophets. The Watts Prophets had decided to speak the voiceless rage to make damn sure that everyone understood the bullshit would reap dire circumstances. They didn't set themselves up as the spokesman for the community, no matter how many white kingmakers tried to do that on them, but rather as antenna for what the community was saying and feeling. A lot of people thought they were better sources of info than the 6 o'clock news. In any case, they knew when the Watts Prophets got down, they would be hearing the truth. The Watts Prophets, maybe it was the name, presented challenging attitudes to a bunch of white folks and many African Americans of a certain mindset. The poetry was and is bittersweet, outright angry, sometimes blue, confrontational, but never simply poetry. It was also musical. They set it to music and collaborated with Don Cherry, MD's boyhood friend, Eagle Eye, and Nana's daddy, Ornette Coleman, Horace Tapscott, God bless his talented soul, Sarah Vaughan, Billy Higgins, Charles Wright, and Quincy Jones. They made 2 albums in the 70s, Rapping Black and White World, after which Dee Dee McLeod left, and In the Streets of Watts. Both were recently reissued by Payday. Carbon dating the rap scene by years, the Prophets yanked at everybody's coattails. Hey world, reflects environmental concerns. Where is your Watts? Burrows under the skin of those who only think of Watts as a geographical location, keeping you doing things so you won't have time to think. Makes the heavy TV lists click off the remote for a moment or two. There was too much truth and honesty in their works for J. Edgar Sweet Pants Hoover. As he did with the Black Panthers, he had the Watts Prophets investigated, pushed up higher on his naughty board. Years after the peak, a dude confessed to Mother Jones that he had been one of several undercover agents in the workshop. This particular brother was never too invisible. He was always preaching hate. Hate to whitey, fired up, kill, and a bunch of other negative shit. Most of us just scribbled FBI nigga and just kept on stepping.
My goodness. Okay.
The prophets did gigs in the hood, sure enough, always, but they were being denied the elevation that they righteously deserved. Jane Fonda could say all this shit she wanted to say and still make money. The Watch prophets didn't have that privilege, even though it was radical chic time. One of the Watch Writers Workshop mags called it radical chick time. Leonard Bernstein was hosting real Black Panthers in his real swank Fifth Avenue pad back in New York. Jean Seberg, Otto Preminger's St. John, Godard's Breathless, was slipping pieces of her Iowa identity to the Revolutionary Brotherhood. Fonda was openly endorsing Vietnamese independence. Members of the Watch Writers Workshop were being invited to parties that they never thought about going to, and some of us went. I went to this one with a workshop brother one spring night. I lived on Laurel Street in Compton, and he lived in the Jordan Downs projects. We were not members of any affluent anything, just bristling African-American writers fresh from the hood. He, the navigator, read off the address to me for the 4th time. We didn't know where in the fuck we were. In addition to that, after a few hits of this pre-Sensimilla bang,
Yes, yes.
we didn't give a shit. Yeah, there it was. 1999 Boterschlickenschlacker Drive. Gotta be the place. Lots of cars, house well lit, some kind of music coming from there. This got to be it. We parked in a convenient space overlooking nothingness and stepped out, prepared to defend the honor of Watts. The Watts prophets, and whatever the fuck else there was that was black and needed defending. We rang the multi-tone bell, ding dong, ding dong, ding.
Yes.
Were promptly admitted to a sea of Caucasians.
Ooh.
Most of them turned to smile at us. Brother man, you sure we're in the right place? Yeah, I whispered back. What the fuck did I know? I'd never been in a room full of smiling white folks in my whole life.
Oh, Lord.
I have never been in a room full of smiling white folks in my whole life. Zola, do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear what
Do
you're
you
saying.
hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Can I hear an amen out there?
Amen on that.
Thank you for that. We mingled.
Oh.
People were cordial, damn near congenial, but there was something missing. We clicked on each other. If this is a party that the poets and the writers of the Watch Writers Workshop were invited to, where were the rest of us? My brother decided to explore the perimeters. Miss Lady, y'all invite the Watch Writers Workshop here? The middle-aged blonde woman, a brighter version of Dick Clark, stared at my friend's beautiful lips for a hot minute. Oh no, we didn't. But you're perfectly free to do whatever you like to do. A half hour later, a half mile up the road, we played into the scene we were supposed to be on. Pate, some people call it Pete, but pate was not a normal item in any of our diets, or white pussy, or Jungian neuroticism. A bunch of us had to do with from scratch. And who's responsible for later setting us up with a gig at this Catholic girls' school? I'm taking us away from the parties because we went and we did what we did, and then later on we were going to other things, like a Catholic girls' school just south of San Francisco. They were so conservative that the girls couldn't even tell us where the men's room was.
Oh my.
Emery was loaded on Jack Daniels, Cambodian sensibilia, and black poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Emery Joseph Lee Evans
Mm-hmm.
from Sheraw, North Carolina, was out there. He was about 6'6",
Yes.
and looked like a house of tribesmen. And it was too cold. He read things like,
Hmm.
well, I'll get to that.
I'm sure you will.
Pate was not a normal item on any of our diets or white pussy. I read that. And who was responsible for later setting us up with a gig at this Catholic girls' school just south of San Francisco? They were so conservative they couldn't even tell us where the men's room was. Emery was loaded on Jack Daniels, Cambodian sensibilia, and black poetry.
Gotcha.
I read something called Black Pussy.
Oh, yes.
Immediately after our performance, the Mama Superior herself wrote the check and escorted us to the front gate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't y'all never, ever, ever think of coming back up in here,
Oh,
she
my.
said,
Oh, my.
or something like that.
Okay.
The writer's workshop had faded by the early 90s, but the prophets never stopped. We watched the brothers. They did a little this, a little that to make ends meet, kept on being the watch prophets. It was like watching monks who had taken a vow or something. Talk up, not down, became one of their theme poems.
Mm-hmm.
They would get kicked in the ass 3 or 5 years straight and keep on coming. The poetry that they started off with, it still burns, still smokes, it's still real after 30-some years of plowing through American bullshit right and left. Their consensus about, their concerns about racism, classism, generational conflict, ecological and personal responsibility cause some people who have narrow notions to be a bit confused. But others were not the least bit puzzled. The members of the hip-hop nation who considered the Watts Prophets to be the godfathers of West Coast rap. They were sampled by DJ Quick, Eazy-E, Poe Black Preacher, and others. They recorded and released a new CD when the 90s came. When the 90s came, with backing from Horace Sapscott, DJ Quick, and US3. They toured with Ben Harper after 30 years. They were discovered. Over the course of the past few years after performances at colleges and universities, strangely up to this very moment, we've never been invited to perform at one of the historically black colleges. Hamilton says.
Wow.
Festivals, jazz venues, young people's concerts, writers' workshops, churches, hospitals, conventions, God only knows what else. The Watts prophets are beginning to receive their props. It's about time. It's about time. As for the workshop itself, it was encouraged into being by a stuttering Jewish intellectual.
Yes.
And Budd Schulberg must always be given his prop for what he did. He was successful and had nothing to gain by putting his name, his vibe, and his ass on the line. Since the workshop fell apart, no replacement has come forth, and we bleed again, as usual, because the youth in Watts, in all of our Wattses, has not been asked to rechannel its energies positively. As long as shit is funky, there's always going to be a need for a Watts Writers Workshop, whether we have one or not. I would like to end this by saying there's a possibility that the Bilbrew Library Watts Writers Workshop, headed by Patricia Forte,
Yes.
with members like Zola Salena-Hawkins, Ron Dowell, Rona White, I could go on and on, all the way up to the number of 8.
Yes. All right.
But I'm not going to take it that far.
All
I
right.
just go and end it here and say to you,
This, www.OdieHawkins.com. This,
it,
this,
yeah, right,
right,
right.
right.